Hello everyone. Today I will be presenting on Maria Sitworth's piece, Females, the Consequence of Racism. Written in 1832, Ed Sitworth is remembered as one of the first American women and especially one of the first Black women to speak publicly about both racism and sexism. Her courage is striking because at that time it was extremely rare for women, let alone Black women, to take the stage and challenge society so directly. This makes her writing not just an important abolitionist text, but also an early feminist document. The second slide is the key concept. The central themes of this text are freedom, oppression, ignorance, and education. Sigward argued that even though slavery was a brutal system, the mental chains of ignorance could be just as damaging. She believed that knowledge and education were key tools for empowerment. In other words, she thought true liberation required more than the end of slavery. It also required opportunity for learning and self-improvement. That's why she warned her audience about the dangers of ignorance, calling it a chain that could bind the soul just as much as physical bondage could bind the body. The third slide is about the author. Maria Seward's own identity strongly shaped her argument. She was a free Black woman living in the North, but she still faced racism, sexism, and exclusion. She understood firsthand that freedom on paper did not mean equality in real life. Because of this experience, she spoke with urgency. Seward also grounded her argument in religious faith. She used Christian values like morality, truth, and justice as part of her appeal, making her message resonate with her audience. Her personal position as both an outsider and a believer gave her voice both credibility and moral authority. The first slide is about the historical context. This text was written in the 1830th century, a turbulent time in U.S. history. Slavery was still legal in the South, while free Black communities in the North struggled against discrimination and poverty. At the same time, the abolitionist movement was beginning to grow louder. Seward's speech came just before figures like Frederick Douglass rose to prominence. It's also important to remember that women in general were expected to remain silent in public life, so Seward's choice to speak out was doubly racial. She challenged both racial oppression and gender expectation. The fifth slide is the argument. Seward's central argument is that African Americans could not achieve true freedom unless they overcome ignorance and pursued education and spiritual growth. She famously wrote, "No chains are so galling as the chains of ignorance, no fetters so blinding as those that bind the soul." This is a powerful metaphor because it equates ignorance with slavery. By doing so, she reframed the struggle for equality as not just a fight for legal rights, but also for intellectual and moral development. Seward urged her audience to take responsibility for their own uplift, even in a hostile society, while also exposing the hypocrisy of a nation that claimed to value liberty. The sixth slide is the reflection and significance. This document is significant for two major reasons. First, it reveals how early the connections between race, gender, and education were being discussed. And Sid was essentially making argument that today we might describe as intersectional. She recognized that oppression was layered and complex. Second, her work demonstrated the leadership of Black women in the abolitionist movement, which is often overlooked in mainstream history. For me, the reading was inspiring. It highlights that the fight against oppression requires more than just breaking physical chains. It also requires breaking mental barriers. Sidworth's insistence on education and self-improvement reminds us that freedom is an ongoing process, not a single event. Her words from nearly 2 centuries ago still challenge us today to think about the relationship between liberty, equality, and knowledge. Thank you.是 stop recording 对吧？